It was a quiet night at St. Mary's Hospital. The kind of quiet that settles into your bones, making every breath feel heavy and every sound echo louder than it should. Nurse Emily had been working the night shift for nearly 3 years. She was used to the silence, the endless corridors bathed in sterile white light, and the strange comfort of hearing the steady rhythm of heart monitors through half-closed doors. But that night, something felt wrong. From the moment she walked in at midnight, the air felt heavier. The hospital smelled sharper, like antiseptic mixed with something faintly metallic, almost like blood. Emily shook it off, telling herself it was just exhaustion. Night shifts could play tricks on your senses. She clocked in, picked up her rounds list, and started moving through the halls. By 3 a.m., most of the patients were asleep, and the building had fallen into that eerie stillness only hospitals seemed to know. That was when she reached room 12. Emily pushed the door open gently, not wanting to wake whoever was inside. But when she stepped into the room, she froze. The patient in the bed was lying perfectly still, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. He was an elderly man, his skin pale and paper-thin, veins glowing faintly under the harsh fluorescent light. "Good evening, sir," Emily whispered, stepping closer. "How are you feeling tonight?" The man didn't move. His eyes didn't blink. But as she leaned closer, she swore his lips twitched, as if forming words she couldn't hear. Her heart gave a nervous jump. "Sir?" she asked again, a little louder this time. The monitor beside the bed beeped steadily, heart rate normal. There was no medical emergency, but Emily's instincts told her something was very wrong. The man's mouth twitched again. Emily leaned so close she could feel his breath on her cheek. She was certain he was whispering something, but the words were too faint, swallowed by the buzzing of the light above. And then she noticed his eyes. They weren't just staring at the ceiling. They were locked on a single corner of the room. Emily followed his gaze. Nothing was there, just shadows clinging to the wall. Emily turned away for a brief second, adjusting the monitor leads. When she looked back, her blood ran cold. The bed was empty. The man was gone. She blinked rapidly, her heart hammering in her chest. She pulled the blanket back, checked the floor, even looked under the bed. Nothing. The bathroom door stood open, light spilling out. Empty. The sheets were tucked in perfectly, as though no one had ever been lying there. Emily stumbled backward, whispering to herself, No, I was just talking to him." He was right here. Emily rushed out into the hallway, scanning both directions. Her footsteps echoed unnaturally, bouncing off the walls. The corridor looked longer than usual, stretching into darkness where the lights had begun to flicker. And then she saw it. At the far end of the hall, barely visible in the shadows, stood a figure. Tall, thin, motionless. Her breath caught in her throat. "Sir?" she called out, her voice trembling. The figure twitched, its head jerking sharply to the side, inhumanly fast. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder, flickering wildly. In every flash of light, the figure seemed closer. Step by step, without moving, without sound. Emily backed away, her pulse slamming in her ears. She blinked, and the hallway was empty. Terrified, Emily rushed back into room 12. The bed was still empty, but something new waited for her. On the floor, smeared in dark red, blood or something like it, were words. "You should not have looked." Emily's stomach turned. Her hands trembled as she whispered, "This isn't real. This can't be real." The temperature in the room dropped suddenly. Her breath came out in white puffs. The monitor flickered, then went flat with a shrill tone. And then she heard it, a whisper, right behind her. Slowly, with every muscle screaming not to, Emily turned. From the shadows at the far corner of the room, the old man rose. His body twisted unnaturally as he stood, joints popping and cracking like breaking twigs. His eyes glowed faintly red. His mouth hung open, stretching wider and wider until it seemed impossible. No sound came out, just the sickening crack of his jaw unhinging. Emily stumbled back, hitting the wall, her voice caught in her throat. The man took a step toward her. His feet didn't touch the ground. She screamed, rushing toward the door. But before she reached it, the figure dissolved into black smoke. The smell of rot filled the room, then vanished. Emily collapsed against the wall outside, gasping for breath. Tears streaked her face. She reported everything in the morning, desperate for answers. But the hospital staff looked at her with confusion. Room 12, they explained, had been empty for years. There was no record of a patient admitted there, no medical files, no trace that anyone had been in that bed. Emily insisted, begged them to check again. She described the man in detail. One of the older doctors went pale. He asked quietly, "Did he have a scar across his cheek?" Emily's eyes widened. "Yes." The doctor swallowed hard. "That patient died here, in room 12, 10 years ago." Emily tried to convince herself it had been stress, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion. But weeks later, while doing another night shift, she passed room 12 again. The door was closed. She told herself not to look. And yet, something drew her closer. She placed her hand on the door. The air around it was freezing. From the other side, faintly, she heard it. Breathing, slow, heavy, right against the door. Emily pulled her hand away and ran down the hallway, refusing to ever step near that room again. To this day, she won't talk about what she saw, but the staff whisper about room 12. Some say they've seen lights flicker inside. Others swear they hear footsteps when the hall is empty. And every now and then someone claims they've seen an old man staring out through the tiny window of the door, his mouth twitching, whispering words that no one can hear. Some patients never leave the hospital, not even after death.